Recorded Books presents an unabridged recording of Chickenhawk by Robert Mason, narrated by L.J. Ganser. This work is copyrighted 1983 by Robert C. Mason. This recording is copyrighted 2000 by Recorded Books. Over 500,000 copies of Chickenhawk have been sold since it was first published in 1983. Here you will learn the truth about the helicopter war in Vietnam. A veteran of more than 1,000 air combat missions, Mason's descriptions cut to the heart of combat experience. The fear and belligerence, the quiet insights and raging madness, the lasting friendships and sudden death, the extreme emotions of men in constant danger. And now, Chickenhawk.
Prologue. I joined the Army in 1964 to be a helicopter pilot. I knew at the time that I could theoretically be sent to a war, but I was ignorant enough to trust it would be a national emergency if I did go. I knew nothing of Vietnam or its history. I did not know that the French had taken Vietnam after 20 years of trying in 1887. I did not know that our country had once supported Ho Chi Minh against the Japanese during the Second World War. I did not know that after the war, the country that thought it was finally free of colonialism was handed back to the French by occupying British forces with the consent of the Americans. I did not know that Ho Chi Minh then began fighting to drive the French out again, an effort that lasted from 1946 until the fall of the French at Dien Bien Phu in 1954. I did not know that free elections scheduled by the Geneva Conference for 1956 were blocked because it was known that Ho Chi Minh would win. I did not know that our government backed an oppressive and corrupt leader, Ngo Dinh Diem, and later participated in his overthrow and his death in 1963. I did not know any of these facts. But the people who decided to have the war did. I did know that I wanted to fly, and there was nothing I wanted to fly more than helicopters. Part 1. Virgins. Chapter 1. Wings. The experimental division authorized to try out the air assault concept is stirring up the biggest inter-service controversy in years. There are some doubts about how practical such a helicopter-borne force would be in a real war. U.S. News and World Report, April 20th, 1964. June 1964 to July 1965. As a child, I had dreams of levitation. In these dreams, I could float off the ground only when no one watched. The ability would leave me just when someone looked. I was a farm kid. My father had operated his own and other farms and a market in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and West Virginia. When I was 9, he started a large poultry farm west of Delray Beach, Florida. Here, in between chores, I daydreamed about flying to the extent that I actually built tall towers to get off the ground. By the time I started high school, my father had switched from farming to real estate, and we moved to town. In my junior year, a friend, a fledgling pilot, taught me the basics of handling a small plane. The airplane was a vast improvement over my dreamy mechanisms. It worked every time. By the time I graduated, I had a private pilot's license. In 1962, after 2 years of sketchy attendance at the University of Florida, I dropped out to travel around the country. A year later, in Philadelphia, 2 very important things happened to me. I met Patience, my wife-to-be, and I applied to be a pilot candidate in the Army. I thought I had finally achieved my goal of goals when I arrived at the U.S. Army Primary Helicopter School at Fort Walters, Texas, in June 1964. I drove through the main gate. Helicopters flitted over the nearby mesas. Helicopters crisscrossed overhead. Helicopters swarmed everywhere. My companion, Ray Ward, craned his head out the window and grinned. He had also joined the Army to fly helicopters. We drove up to a group of concrete buildings that looked like dormitories. A sign out front said, "Warrant Officer Candidates report here." We were impressed. Having gone through basic training at Fort Dix and a month of advanced...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?